Today I'd like to outline how the 2 years of Nofap really changed and how it gave me huge benefits and how I resisted the urges and the methods of which I used and implemented in my own daily schedules to actually hit the 720-day record. And now, for the present day, I think it's almost been even more than 2 years, I'm pretty sure. But after those 2 years had passed, I actually realized that keeping a record of the streaks are no longer relevant in my today's life. And to become this guru of Nofap, to become this master of the Nofap program, it really took me to start on a very humble and diligent yet sacrificing journey from the start. And it wasn't all rainbows and sunshine from the beginning, because for the first few weeks I could not resist the urges and the temptations and the relapse, the self-loathing, and all of those commitments that I had to make. It was really hard to resist those urges at first, and it was almost a very natural instinct, very hard and instantaneous, very egotistic, very id-like in the Freudian dictionary. Hard to really discuss the extent of which that temptation was at its greatest peak. So at first I really had a huge difficulty really maintaining my posture and even focus in my daily lives, because every 3 seconds or so I would get this immense thought of sexual ideations and cravings for pornography. And this is because I had been really behavioristically conditioned to watching pornography since a very young age. And I think I started watching porn when I was in 5th grade, so until high school and up to college freshman year I kept on watching it. And looking back in hindsight, I now see the effects of watching pornography, the effects that it had on my social activities and my social confidence, my charisma, and my ability to interact with other people without facing this terrible bouts of anxiety. And so this leads me to the point where I crave for this absence of anxiety. So I want to get rid of my anxiety. There's this brain fog that I always have when I wake up, and I want to be a very fundamentally strong human being, right? I want to transform myself into a success model that I would be proud of, to leave a legacy in this society and to be a helper of others. And I really was at a point that such a statement, such a dream was almost impossible because of the fact that I was chained to all these addictions. And watching pornography and masturbating every single day just led on to a pervertism, a exhibitionism of fetishisms and so forth, where I always fantasized about all these sexual abnormalities and these scenes and these idolizing these porn situations and porn-induced fantasies, which are so irrelevant to our reality. It's very far-fetched and very disconnected from our reality. And oftentimes we realize that in porn it really stimulates us and provokes us to feel this desensitized form of love and sexual interactions with the other sex, or whatever your partner sex may be. It's really important to notice that what porn depicts in its movies are so aggravated and so so aggressive in its form, and that it does not really truly reflect the true tone of our human species and our actual realistic versions of sex, right? And that desensitization really brings upon this idealistic and derealized version of your perceptions, right? When you just walk down the street and you notice this very fancy, cute little girl, you start to fantasize about her sexual appearances, I guess, more than the qualities of her characteristics, her personalities, and what makes her attractive, without the sexual appearances and idealizations. And the benefits the Nofap really came and gave to me was that for the first time in my life, I actually was able to see and interact with other people without any pervertisms, without any introverted, really thinking to myself and not being able to share my thoughts because they were a little bit too perverted and related to porn-induced fantasies and so forth. And it really gave me a sense of purpose in life that really deviated from my original concept of achieving sexual dreams and fantasies in my real life. So before, if my priorities were to, have great sex like the porn depicts in those extreme cinematographies, it really messed up my priorities, as in order to achieve that sexual fantasy, what must I do? I must become financially independent. I must I must demonstrate my sexual prowess. I must be able to be charming, right, and attractive in order to attain that sexual dream, which is kind of messed up. Like the priorities and the order in which my desires are laid out was messed up, because my desires must have been, if I stand correctly, very focused on achieving sex and porn and masturbation and all the sexual pleasures. And this comes without all the precious interrelationships, all the memories, all the actual connections that depict love and reflect love in our personas. And it really came without the core essence of this vitality, right? Because if you just think about life for only the pleasure and the dopamine it really gives off, like, you start to think like a coke addict, right? You're hooked onto this substance and you can never get enough of it, and you're always looking for the euphoric highs, and therefore you get stuck with this mundane, this boring, this common, this everyday version of life, right? And you're so dissatisfied with your life and your reality, and you start to suffer from depersonalization and derealization. You start to manipulate what you think of yourself and how you perceive other things, and how you perceive the importance of things laid out in your life. And Nofap really gave me a clear vision and a purpose to deviate from those abnormalities, right? And also, I became much more confident and self-loving, because before, when I relapse every 3 days, I would resort to, ideations, negative ideations. They weren't suicidal, to be exact, but they were almost to the same impact of negativity, where I was just thinking myself as this very lowly creature that has no self-dignity, that has no self-control over what he really wants to do in life, just wastes life and rots away in this room, stuck in this society, stuck in this structure, stuck in this depression. And really, Nofap was one of the core tools that liberated me from that chain of bags, that really drilled me to the rock bottom. And Nofap is a program where it really gives you a lot of confidence, and women, especially women, right? Everyone can see if you're a confident person or not, depending on your bodily language and your expressions. And before and after I, just went on this Nofap journey, if I compare the level of confidence before and after, it'll be huge. It'll be just drastically different. Now I live in this world where I am fully independent, fully confident of my life. I'm fully in control. I know all the factors that I am really missing and I really crave. So I'm working on fixing those things. But the most major difference that the Nofap journey really gave me was the ability to really use my energy in the most creative, the most spiritual, the most meaningful ways. Be it building a better future, building a self-image, building health and exercise routines, and so forth.